Show me.
Hello everybody, Martial Arts Film Freak here. It's been a while since I've done a good tier ranking video. Don't even know what the last one was. Scott Adkins movies, directors, might have been directors. Yes, I'm gonna tier rank weapons. Tier rank my favorite martial arts movie weapons. From Kung Fu to Karate to, I don't know, Muay Thai, Silat, pretty much everything. Which really this whole video just means I went to watch a movie to do a review and I just decided I didn't want to watch that movie anymore. You know, it was a movie I knew was gonna be bad. And I've just recently watched every single kickboxer movie, so I'm not really in the mood right now to just watch something bad. Maybe I'll watch something good soon, get another review out. If you want a review, I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it every single week. I don't really know what I'm doing. But this is a video I've been meaning to do for quite some time. Didn't know if I wanted to have a guest on to do it with me, but I just figured, yeah, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do it for myself. So here it is. Here is the tier list of all of my favorite martial arts movie weapons. Alright, so I've got 19 choices here, 19 weapons, because 19 is all I could think of last night. The options here, the categories from the top to the bottom, I've got the best. Obviously, if it goes here, it is the best. It's one that when I see it, I'm like, oh, this movie's going to be good. Love to see it is the next one down. You know, it's not the best, but I love to see it. The middle one, okay, cool. Okay, cool. You know, something pops up, weapon pops up, okay, cool. Next one down, someone pulls out a weapon, makes you go, oh, this is fine. This is fine. Nothing crazy. This is fine. I don't know why I feel like fucking George Costanza right now. The very bottom one, the lowest, the one that makes you say, I don't really feel like watching this movie, is when someone pulls out a weapon and you go, was this your only choice? I don't know, like a broken bottle or something. That's not on this list, but was that your only choice? We're going to start with an easy one here, that is nunchucks. Obviously, of course, made super famous by Bruce Lee. We've seen a few people do it, since then. Of course, you've got Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. You always love to see Mikey. He is one of my favorite turtles. You've got, of course, anybody who does a Bruce Lee character like Donnie Yen in Legend of the Fist, Return of Shenzhen. I do love some nunchucks. They're always really fun. Killick is always one of my favorite characters to play as in Soul Calibur. But do I love nunchucks a whole lot? They're always fun. They really are. I'm gonna go love to see it. I do love some nunchucks, but they're never like my favorite. Next one here, a bit of an underappreciated weapon. That is just sort of a traditional Chinese sword. The example I have here in this picture is obviously Jet Li in the movie Hero. That is some of my favorite sword work. There are many other films that do some really good stuff. I am going to go ahead and say the best, because in the right hands, with some really, really good choreography, the Chinese sword can just be absolutely beautiful. I used a weird picture for this next one. That is obviously a katana. Of course, I could have chosen any samurai film, but I went with this picture of Kill Bill because why not? I do love the katana. It's when I don't know. The katana is weird because it's not always the flashiest weapon. It is like the most precise especially I don't know in real life, of course, but like in movies, like my favorite katana fight isn't really that flashy. My favorite katana fight is just one where someone dies in like one move. So I'm gonna go love to see it, because it's like I don't ever really expect like something super exciting when someone pulls out a katana. I expect a quick death, if that makes sense. Next up here, Chinese spear. I love the Chinese spear. My favorite thing about the Chinese spear is probably its flexibility. The flexibility is just a lot of fun. It's very lightweight. I love how much they can move with the Chinese spear. I've got, for example, here I've got Jet Li in the movie Fearless, which is one of my favorite scenes with the spear. There's some good stuff in Drunken Master with a spear. I believe that's the right one. was Fearless Hyena? Which one? Either Fearless Hyena or Drunken Master had a really good spear scene. I do love the spear. The spear makes me very happy. I love a good long-ranged weapon. It makes things very complicated. I'm going to go ahead and put the spear in the best. Looking good for weapons so far, because next up, we've got the Karambit. Now, the Karambit is weird. The Karambit doesn't pop up very often, and when it does, you kind of want to see it used in very specific ways with the Karambit. I've got, of course, for example, here I've got the Raid 2. That is one of the best Karambit fights you're ever going to see. There is another great Karambit fight in The Man from Nowhere, which will come up again later. But I do like a good Karambit. In the right hands, it can be used to perfection, but it doesn't always pop up in the right hands. So I'm going to go ahead and move the Karambit to... Okay, cool. I like it, but it's got to be used by the right people. Next up is one that I never really think about until it's there. And when it's there, it's incredible. This is sort of like a 3-section chain whip, or just a chain whip. It's not a weapon that ever really comes to mind, because when you think whip or anything like that, I don't know, it just doesn't really come to mind. But I remember watching Kid with the Golden Arm, and somebody pops up towards the end of the movie with a chain whip, a movie that has already been filled with stellar fight scenes, and somebody comes up with the chain whip, and they almost steal the whole movie. I don't think I can think of another single scene with a chain whip, but the one time I can think of the chain whip, it was mesmerizing. So it is going in the best. It doesn't come up often, but when it does, which is the one time I can think of in The Kid with the Golden Arm, it steals the show. Next up, we have got similar weapon, the 3-section staff. 3-section staff, of course, I've got, for example, here, this is Gordon Liu in 36 Chamber of Shaolin, maybe possibly the golden example of the 3-section staff in Kung Fu cinema. You've also got Ti Lung who does some great stuff with it in Avenging Eagle. Jackie Chan actually does some stuff with it in Fist of Fury 2, New Fist of Fury, which I do enjoy what he does with it. It sort of gets broken and turned into like a big nunchuck, but I like that a lot. I mean, it's the 3-section staff. 3-section staff has to go in the best because it's just fantastic. Next up, we've got sort of a Filipino Kali sticks. And this is kind of stick work in general, I think, in my head. You don't really see Kali sticks come up very often. When I think of Kali sticks, I don't necessarily think of movies. I think of like Jaquan and Brian Sloyer YouTube videos. They do some fantastic Kali style stuff. I mean, of course, I've got Bruce Lee here in Enter the Dragon. I'm going to go okay cool, but it's sort of like a similar thing with the Karambit where, like, when it's in the right hands, like a Brian Sloyer on YouTube, it's beautiful. You just don't really see it very often. I don't think Bruce Lee really uses it that spectacularly in Enter the Dragon. I don't know. I don't know if he trained with them very much, but I don't really think of Bruce Lee when I see those. I think maybe Brendan Vera uses them pretty well in Buy Bust. I think he uses like a single stick, and if I remember that, is that movie Filipino? It's I think that one's Filipino because it's not Cambodian. This is weird. I'm having a mental debate in my brain. Jailbreak is Cambodian, but I think that Maria and Buy Bust are Filipino, so that sounds right in my head. I think Brendan Vera does use it in Buy Bust, and it's quite fun. I like his use of it a lot. Then we've got. So I've got sort of two weapons in this picture, but the main one I'm focusing on here is the axe. That is also the spear again popping up like we've got up here. But I've got the sort of dual-wield axes that I think Chiang Shang uses in The Kid with the Golden Arm. That is really, again, the only example I can think of where someone uses them really well, but that is one of my favorite fight scenes in that movie. I feel like you don't really see them very often, but just based on that one fight scene, I do love to see it. If you can think of another example of good, like, sort of dual-wield axes, comment down below, because I can't think of any. Next up, we've got sort of the Tonfa, the nightstick. I've got, for example, here, one of my favorite, more fast-paced, crazy examples is Jet Li in The Enforcer, or My Father is a Hero. Of course, my first thought with these was the Raid. Of course, I think the Raid, the way Iko Uwais uses the Tonfa, the nightstick in the Raid is so tactically brilliant, and then the way Jet Li uses them in My Father's a Hero is so different and flashy. It doesn't correlate at all with the Raid. And there's such a good variety to the tonfa that I like a lot. Jackie Chan has some really fun stuff in City Hunter. Whenever they're just kind of used holding the grips with them going down the arms, I do like that a lot. Of course, you've also got Force Awakens has a fun sort of electrified tonfa. I do love to see a tonfa. It's not the best, but whenever someone can really use a tonfa, like in the Raid or in My Father's a Hero, I freaking love a tonfa. Moving on to sort of, I don't even know what this sword is called. I had Googled sort of a Chinese, like, heavy sword, broadsword kind of thing, I guess. For example, I've got here the fight in Fearless in, like, the bar, in the restaurant. It is a very different weapon to, like, sort of the traditional Chinese sword. It's a lot heavier. It's a two-handed weapon most of the time. It's a very different style, very slow style, very heavy. I don't love it. I'm usually okay with it when it's there. I can't really think of a whole bunch of examples of using that style of sword. Usually if they go the Chinese sword, they go the lighter one because it's a lot faster, a lot flashier. So I'm going to go with This Is Fine here. I do like it. I do like it a lot. That is a great fight scene in Fearless. And if anybody, again, can think of other examples where it is used really, really well, let me know in the comments, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But this is all I've got here, and it's fine. Next up, we've got sais. Everybody loves a good sai. In the example I've got here in this picture, it is Richard Norton in the Chuck Norris film The Octagon. That is a very good use of the sais. I don't love the sais. I don't. You know, I love Raphael and Ninja Turtles. That's fine. That's all good and dandy. It's a weapon with a lot of variety. It really does have a lot of variety. It can be used to grip, of course, your stabs and slashes. A lot of times I've seen sort of the back end used. For like as a blunt object. That was really cool. It's done really, really well in Dragon Tiger Gate. Dragon Tiger Gate does do it extremely well against Donnie Yen. He gets sort of hit in the ribs and his ribs are all messed up for a bit. There's a lot of really good examples of the sai. Yasuaki Kurata in what's the Three Dragons film? Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars. I think I'd probably go This Is Fine again. I don't love seeing sais. I love seeing them used well by people like Richard Norton or Yasuaki Kurata. But I don't know. I could go if a sai pops up in a movie, I'd probably say This Is Fine. I'm never excited to see somebody use sais. Next up, of course, I've got this picture of Old Boy, so that is obviously the hammer. Of course, I've only got two examples of the hammer. It's Old Boy, and it's Hammer Girl from the Raid 2. Do I love to see it, though? It's really weird. It's used really well in those two movies. Like, it's used to perfection in those movies. Really creatively in the Raid 2. I'm going to go okay cool on the hammer. It's not the most exciting weapon, but in those two movies, it's really fun. It's either really brutal, well, it's always really brutal. It's a very brutal weapon, and the Raid 2 finds cool ways to use it in very flashy ways as well. Speaking of the Raid 2, I've got Julia Estelle and The Night Comes For Us. This is just sort of my very broad knives. There's a whole lot of different knives in martial arts. Various martial arts have their different takes on knives. But just knife work. I love knife work. Julia Estelle uses some brilliant knife work in The Night Comes For Us. Man from Nowhere has one of the best knife fights of all time. I just also watched the fight scene in the elevator from New World. It's a very fun one. There's some good stuff in like A Company Man and... what was I just thinking of that I just lost my train of thought? There's a really good Kali knife fight in Death Grip with Eric Jacobus. What did I do that for? So knives. I had another thought for knife, and I can't think of what I was thinking of. I mean, it's like okay, cool. It's like when it's used really well, it's going to be used really, really well. But I mean, if somebody ever just pulls out a knife, you're never like, tell me in the comments, do you ever just see like someone pull out knives and you're like, this is gonna be dope? The one I was thinking of was Villainess. The opening of Villainess is a lot of knife work. There's some really fun knife work in City of Violence I like a lot, but like whenever someone pulls out a knife, I'm not like, this is gonna get amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, she has a knife. But then they do end up using it to do something amazing. But that's just my general thoughts on knives. Next up is the machete. Now the machete, it's never... The best use of a machete that I can think of is Maybe Yayan Ruyan as Percoso in the Raid 2. He's very precise with it. It's very fun to watch. And then there's, of course, the very good fight that I've got here with the machetes in the first Raid, the Raid Redemption. But the thing with the machete is there's not a lot of grace to the machete. Now Yayan Ruyan has really a lot of grace with it in the Raid 2. But usually when you see a machete, there's not a lot of grace to it. And I do love some graceful movement. So it's usually a very chaotic weapon. Usually anybody who uses a machete is not a character who is going to do anything crazy flashy. They just want to hack the shit out of you. But it's a fun weapon. Part of me wants to say, was this your only choice? You know, it can be used well. All of these weapons here, under the right hands and choreographers, can be used really, really well. But I'm never really that excited to see a machete. So I'm going to go with, was this your only choice? Sorry, machete. It's just my thoughts. Next up, I've got sort of Wing Chun butterfly swords, butterfly knives. I guess butterfly swords. A butterfly knife is a thing. Of course, used by Ip Man in Ip Man 2 and Ip Man 3. I love the use of it in Ip Man 3. It is some of my favorite use of the butterfly sword. Of course, it is also in the Final Master. A fantastic use of it is by Hoi Sang Lee in 36 Chamber of Shaolin. That is his sort of weapon of choice. While Gordon Liu is sort of finding his weapon of choice, his style, he constantly goes against Hoi Sang Lee, who is using the butterfly swords, and he's constantly being bested until he comes up with the 3-section staff. And Hoi Sang Lee uses them beautifully in that film. But the way, so in the end of Ip Man 3, when you've got Donnie Yen versus Max Zhang, and they both are using the butterfly swords, I think that is excellent. It's, again, grace and all that stuff. I love it so much. I'm going to go with the best on butterfly swords. In all those examples I gave, Hoi Sang Lee, Final Master, and Ip Man 3, it just perfection. The pole or the staff. So I don't know. Here was my confusion a bit. This was almost 20 because I almost made a distinction between a pole and like a whitewood staff, as I suppose you would see used by monks in films like Shaolin, or some of my favorite use of the staff is in Tai Chi Master. There's some really good staff work in Tai Chi Master, but I sort of lumped in the staff with the pole. And of course I've got Gordon Liu here in 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. The whole movie is pole fights. There's some really good stuff in that. The final fight is great, but the fight with Philip Ko, I keep freaking right-clicking. The fight with Philip Ko in that, it's one of my favorite fight scenes of all time, maybe. But I love staff work. I love pole work. It's one of my favorite weapons. It's what makes probably Donatello my favorite turtle. I think it can just be used beautifully. I love its use in film because I love when anything can just kind of connect, and there's a lot of like stuntmen who are just like, yeah, just hit me with it, just f me up, and I think it can just be, it's one of the best weapons that can be used gracefully and with sort of a measure of brutality and precision, especially when you see like monks use it in various films. There's a glorious, beautiful training sequence in Martial Arts of Shaolin. I think it's Martial Arts of Shaolin. That feels right. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's really, really good. I love the training. I love the forms. I love in action. It's up there like with the traditional Chinese sword in terms of gracefulness, brutality, and precision. It's one of the very best. It's one of my very favorites. I love the staff, the pole, if they're the same thing. Next up, you've got the rope dart. The rope dart is weird. The rope dart comes up, I suppose, fairly regularly. The example I've got here is one of the best examples. This is Michelle Yeoh in Magnificent Warriors. She uses it gracefully. I love the use of it in what's it called? King of Triads by Liu Zhejiang. I do love a good rope dart. It's not my favorite, but I do love to see it. Last one is a bit of a comedy choice. but you know what? It pops up enough regularly in movies that it counts as a weapon. This is, of course, sort of that Chinese stool. Here I've got Yuan Biao holding it in what I want to say that is, God dang it, I just watched it recently. Is this Dragon Fist? I can't remember. Yuan Biao holding it here. That is not Jackie Chan. And it's a very fun weapon. I can't describe how it is used. I can't, because it's like it's not a weapon, but it's used as a weapon a lot. I can't describe it. It's funny. It's creative. The choreography, whenever you see it, is always going to be entertaining. Do I love to see? Yeah, I love to see the stool. I really, really do. I'm gonna zoom this in here a bit since I didn't take up the whole thing because I didn't have that many options on this one. Let me see here. But yes, I love a stool. It's entertaining. The choreography is always going to be mega creative when you have a stool in hand. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a really weird choice, and that's why I wanted to include it here, because it's one of the most creative tools you can use in a fight scene for those old kung fu movies. So looking at this from the bottom to the top, I'm going to go through these again. In the bottom, the one where it's like, what was this your only choice? You've got the machete. I like it, but whatever. This is fine. It's really good and it's nice, really, really well used in the right hands. But otherwise, it's fine. You've got sort of that Chinese heavy sword and the size. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. You've got the karambit, the kali sticks, the hammer, and the knife. They don't really do anything super crazy for me when I see them, but when they're used in the right hands, it is amazing. Love to see it. Something that whenever they pull out in movies, I know something awesome is going to happen. You've got the nunchucks, the katana. You've got sort of those dual-wield axes that Chang Shang is using in Kid with the Golden Arm. You've got the tonfa, the nightstick. You've got the rope dart, and you've got the sort of Chinese stool situation there. And in the best, you've got the traditional Chinese sword, the Chinese spear, the chain whip, and the 3-section staff, butterfly swords, and the pole or staff. I love those things. But what do you think? What is your favorite weapon in martial arts cinema? I don't know, am I completely crazy with all this? Should the size be higher? Because there are some really good examples of size. Or do you just love a machete and you really hate the chain whip? Tell me those things in the comment section down below. Don't forget to watch last week's video, which was sort of a breakdown of how great Attack of the Yakuza or Broken Path is. Tell me all those things in the comment section down below. Don't forget to watch those videos. Tell me your thoughts. I've said this like 5 times. My mouth is very dry. I need to drink some water. Like, share, subscribe. Head over to Facebook. There is the Martial Arts Film Freak Facebook page. Instagram, Martial Arts Film Freak. Tristan_Glover_ on the Twitter. And Martial Arts Film Freak on TikTok. Do you like these tier lists? Sometimes I just kind of throw them together. Like, this feels a little bit thrown together, but I do mean everything I've got here. So yeah, do all those things. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.